900 Hells Angels roared into a quiet Ohio suburb, surrounding a single house where a 6-year-old girl's birthday party had 0 guests. Across the street, the neighborhood queen bee, Sharon Harrington, smirked from her own lavish party, having deliberately sabotaged the little girl's day. What Sharon didn't know was that 3 days earlier, that same little girl Maya had given her last $20, her entire party fund, to a Hells Angel named Tank when he was having a medical emergency. Now Tank and 899 of his brothers were here. They weren't crashing the party, they were the party. Before we dive deeper into story, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Help us get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. God bless you for joining the family. This story begins in the bruised heart of the American Rust Belt, in a part of Toledo, Ohio, where the skeletons of dead auto plants cast long shadows over streets of cracked pavement. This is where we find Maya. She is 6 years old, but her eyes hold the ancient, quiet wisdom of someone who has understood struggle since birth. She is not a sad child, not by a long shot. She is a sliver of pure, unfiltered sunlight in a world of gray vinyl siding and chain-link fences. Her father, Mark, sees that light. He's an Army veteran, honorably discharged after an IED in Kandahar turned his left leg into a map of scars and nerve damage. They survive, barely, on a disability check that evaporates long before the month ends. Maya is his anchor, his one. Undeniable proof that goodness still exists in a world that chewed him up and spat him out. She wanted a party. She was turning 7. And before we dive deeper into Maya's world, I have got to ask, where are you watching this story from? Drop your city, your state, your country in the comments right now. Let's see just how far Maya's light can travel. She did not ask for a new bike or a tablet. She wanted what she saw on the rare kids shows she watched. Laughter. She wanted balloons that were not from the dollar store. She wanted other children to sing to her. For weeks, she sat at their wobbly kitchen table, her tongue stuck out in concentration, meticulously drawing 7 balloons on each piece of folded notebook paper. She used every single color in her 8-pack of crayons. These invitations were her hopes, rendered in wax. The birthday money was not a fund. It was a single bill, a crisp $20. This $20 was a sacrament. Mark had saved it for 2 agonizing months. It was the physical result of him skipping his own meals, telling Maya he ate at the VA when he had not. It was the cash he had earned hauling a neighbor's broken washing machine to the dump, a job that left him limping in agony for 3 days. That single Andrew Jackson was his pride. It was his promise to his daughter that for one single solitary day, they would not be the poor family. It was the physical manifestation of a father's love, folded neatly in a happy birthday envelope he had found. Their world was one of hard edges and quiet judgments. They lived in a small, rented bungalow on a street divided by an invisible line. On their side, peeling paint, sagging porches, and lawns of crabgrass. On the other side, just across the asphalt, the houses were newer, the lawns were manicured, the driveways held late-model SUVs, and the windows glowed with the warmth of 2-income stability. This was not Beverly Hills, but to Mark and Maya, it might as well have been. Their house was the one people look past, not at. And in modern America, to be invisible is to be forgotten, a slow-motion erasure of your own humanity. Mark's fight was constant. He was not just disabled, he was trapped. The VA bureaucracy was a second war, a soul-crushing labyrinth of paperwork and waiting rooms that smelled of stale coffee and antiseptic despair. He could not hold a 9 to 5. The shrapnel in his leg would flare up, white-hot and blinding. But his pride, the grit of a soldier, was ironclad. He dragged the mower across their patchy lawn, his jaw set against the pain. He washed Maya's clothes by hand in the bathtub when the laundromat money was gone. He was a good man, a hero who served, now fighting a silent, desperate battle against poverty on his own soil. And every single day, he felt like he was failing his little girl. But Maya saw none of it, or rather, she saw it, and her pure heart translated his struggle into love. She knew her daddy hurt. She would climb onto his lap, always careful of the bad leg, and press her tiny hand against his rough cheek. "It's okay, Daddy. We're rich. We got the good peanut butter this week." She was a child who found magic in the mundane. A smooth gray stone from the sidewalk was a treasure. A stray cat that let her pet it was a miracle. She was the kind of soul the world had not yet had the chance to stain. She was all hope, wrapped in a faded pink jacket, 3 sizes too big, a hand-me-down from a church donation box. The looming birthday was everything. The date was circled on their calendar, a single red ring around Saturday. Maya had given her father the $20 bill to guard. "For the cake, Daddy, it has to be chocolate, and candles. We need candles." She had placed it in a small white paper envelope, the one from the diner, upon which she had meticulously written "Party Money" in wobbly purple crayon. This $20 was the entire budget. It was the cake, the balloons, and the off-brand soda. It represented the total sum of their hope for that one special day. Mark kept that envelope in his shirt pocket right over his heart, as if guarding the most precious jewel in the entire state of Ohio. They were profoundly alone. Mark had no crew. His old army buddies were ghosts, scattered by their own demons in other forgotten forgotten zip codes. He did not fit in with the other dads at the school. He was too young to be retired, too broken to be working. The other parents in the pickup line, they gave him that polite, tight-lipped smile, the smile that said, "I see you, but I do not want to." Maya felt the echo of this. Kids are mirrors. At recess, she was often the last one picked. She was the quiet one, the one with the sad dad. She did not have a single best friend to call her own. This party, this was her one shot. And so we have the setup. We have our innocent hero, a 6-year-old girl whose heart is bigger than the decaying city she lives in. We have her guardian, a wounded warrior fighting his last battle against poverty and invisibility. We have the prize, a single $20 bill that represents one day of normalcy, one day of joy. Maya is clutching her hand-drawn invitations, her small chest bursting with excitement. She is about to take her first step into the battlefield of her neighborhood. She has no idea she's about to hand one invitation to the devil and her $20 bill to an angel. The stage is set in this small Ohio town, a place of faded glory and whispered judgments. The atmosphere is thick with desolation, the feeling of being left behind by the American dream. Mark and Maya are an island, clinging to each other. He, crippled by the system he swore to defend, and she, armed with nothing but crayons and a profound, unshakable goodness. She believes, with the fiery certainty of the innocent, that people are good. She believes that if she just asks, they will come. She is about to have that faith tested, and she is about to find out that the world is far more cruel and far more heroic than she could ever imagine. The incident occurred 3 days before the party. Mark and Maya were on a mission. Their '98 Taurus, rattling and complaining, was parked at a Greasy Spoon diner just off the highway. It was a pre-birthday treat, one cheeseburger cut in half and a plate of fries to share. Maya, clutching her precious party money envelope, had insisted on bringing it. She was going to pick out a special candle at the grocery store next door. She held that envelope like it was a winning lottery ticket, beaming at her father as they walked toward the diner's entrance. The parking lot was mostly empty, save for a few long-haul trucks and one magnificent, terrifying machine. It was a Harley-Davidson, a Street Glide, midnight black with chrome that glinted like a predator's teeth even under the overcast Ohio sky. It was customized, loud, and screamed, "Don't mess with me," and lying next to it on the cracked asphalt and loose gravel was its owner, a man. No, a mountain. He was huge. He was not just down, he was sprawled, tangled in his own machine. The bike had skidded on the loose gravel near the entrance, a low-speed tip-over, but the man was the real problem. He was shaking. His face was pale, covered in a sickening, cold sweat. Let's paint this picture right so you understand. This was not your weekend lawyer playing dress-up. This was the 1%. His arms, thick as utility poles, were a roadmap of prison and military ink crawling right up his thick neck. He wore the full cut, a stained, worn leather vest bearing the unmistakable death head logo of the Hells Angels. He was the physical embodiment of every suburban nightmare, the reason people lock their car doors in broad daylight. This was Tank, and Tank was in trouble. People saw him. A trucker slowed his rig, looked, and then hit the gas, speeding away. A woman walking into the diner stopped dead, her eyes wide, then literally turned, ran back to her car, and peeled out of the lot. They did not see a man in distress. They saw the vest. They saw the tattoos. They saw danger. Mark saw it too. His hand instinctively shot out, grabbing Maya's shoulder, pulling her back. His soldier's brain screamed, "Threat, avoid." He was a veteran, sure, but this man was from a different, wilder tribe. "Stay by the car, Maya," he ordered, his voice tight. Tank was not just winded. He was groaning, a low, guttural sound. There was a nasty gash on his forearm, bleeding sluggishly onto the pavement, but that was not the critical issue. He was fumbling at a saddlebag, his massive, tattooed fingers shaking too hard to work the simple buckle. He was a diabetic. The shock of the spill, the adrenaline dump, had sent his blood sugar plummeting into the red zone. He was minutes away from a diabetic coma. He needed sugar, now, and he could not get to his emergency kit. He was dying, right there in a parking lot, surrounded by people too terrified to help. But Maya does not see a Hell's Angel. She does not see the prison ink. She does not see the patch that makes grown men cross the street. She sees what a 6-year-old sees, a big man who is hurt, a man who looks sick. Before Mark can grab her, she twists free. She's out of his grasp. She's running, not away, to him. "Maya, no!" Mark yells, his heart stopping, scrambling out of the driver's seat, his bad leg buckling. But she's too fast. She's standing right over this terrifying giant, her small pink sneakers inches from his massive scuffed biker boots. Tank looks up, his vision tunneling, and sees this angel, this tiny child with eyes as wide and clear as a summer sky. She is not scared. She is concerned. "Sir, you look sick," she says, her voice a tiny bell in the silent, judgmental parking lot. "My daddy gets shaky sometimes. He says juice helps." Before Tank can even form a word, Maya shoves her hand into her own coat pocket, pulls out the white paper envelope, the one with party money, written in wobbly purple crayon, and thrusts it against the man's huge, leather-clad chest. The $20 bill is visible inside. "Here," she says, pushing it harder. "Please, go buy an orange juice. You need it more." Tank just stares. stares. He stares at the envelope. He stares at the $20 bill. He stares at this tiny girl. The entire world shrinks to this single, impossible moment. He knows what this money is. He can see the crayon-y writing. He knows this is everything to her. This is not charity. This is a sacrifice. This is purity he has not seen since, well, maybe ever. His hand, which had done things we will not speak of, stops shaking just long enough to close around the envelope. This single act, it hits Tank harder than a 2x4. This world, his world, runs on fear, respect, and violence. People cross the street to avoid him. Cops follow him for miles. He is judged, feared, and hated, and frankly, he's fine with it. But this, a 6-year-old girl offering him her birthday money, it breaks something deep inside him. It's a kindness so pure, so unselfish. It completely short-circuits his entire understanding of the world. He sees a goodness he thought was long extinct, and it was just offered to him. Mark finally limps up, frantic, ready to pull Maya away from the monster. He stops dead when he sees the scene. The giant biker is not attacking. He is crying, not sobbing, but his eyes are wet. He's looking at Maya like she's a religious apparition. Tank struggles, uses the $20, stumbles into the diner, and comes back out a minute later, chugging a large orange juice. The color starts to return to his face. The shaking subsides. He just saved his life, or rather, she did. He fixes his gaze on Maya, who is now hiding slightly behind her father's legs. He does not smile. His face is not built for it, but his voice, a low, gravelly rumble, is heavy with an emotion Mark can't place. "What's your name, kid?" he asks. "Maya," she whispers. "It's my birthday, on Saturday. I'm gonna be 7. Tank nods slowly. He looks at the party money envelope, then back at her. "A birthday, huh? You think anyone's coming?" Maya's face falls, just for a second. "I hope so. I gave out all the invitations." Tank understands. He sees the hope and the fear in her eyes. He gets it. He's lived a life on the outside, too. He reaches into his own pocket, pulls out a crumpled $100 bill, and tries to hand it to Mark. For the kid, for the juice. Mark, his soldier's pride kicking in, immediately puts his hand up. "No, we don't need. She wanted to help. We're fine." Tank looks at Mark, a hard, appraising stare. He sees the worn-out boots. He sees the limp. He sees the faded 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles tattoo on Mark's forearm. He nods. A different kind of respect. He does not push the money. He understands pride. He understands service. Instead, he turns back to Maya. He struggles to his feet, a mountain of a man, and rights his 800-pound motorcycle with a single pained grunt. He straddles the machine. "You did a good thing, Maya," he growls. "A real good thing." He looks at her dad. "You raised her right, soldier." Then he looks back at Maya, his eyes deadly serious. "In my world, honor must be paid with honor. A debt is a debt. You remember that." He does not say thank you in the traditional sense. He does not need to. He's just made a sacred vow, though. Maya and Mark don't know it. He still has her $20 envelope in his massive fist. He kicks the Harley to life. The sound is an explosion, a roar that shakes the very windows of the diner. It's a sound of raw, untamed power. He gives Maya one last nod, a look of profound, terrifying gravity. Then he's gone, a black and chrome blur disappearing down the highway, leaving only the smell of exhaust and the faint tremor in the air. Maya and Mark stand there, stunned. The parking lot is silent again, except for the highway hum. "Come on, kiddo," Mark says, his own hand shaking now. Let's get that burger." Maya is quiet. She's sad about her $20. She knows deep down that $20 is gone. That was her cake money, her balloon money. She does not cry. She just takes her dad's hand. "It's okay, Daddy. He needed it. He was sick." Mark looks at his daughter, his heart swelling with a painful mix of pride and sorrow. He knows now there will be no cake. They do not know what just happened. They think they just lost $20. They think they just had a scary encounter with a dangerous man. They are wrong. What Maya just did was light a fuse. She just sent a message into a world she knows nothing about. She just purchased an insurance policy she did not know existed. She gave away her party money, her one day of hope, and in doing so, she had just bought herself an army. Because Tank was not going home. He was going to his clubhouse, and he had a story to tell. Now, let's cross the street. Let's talk about the real villain. She does not have tattoos. She does not ride a motorcycle. Her name is Sharon Harrington. She is the queen bee of this modest suburban cul-de-sac. Her house is the one with the professionally landscaped garden and the brand new 3-row SUV. Her husband is a regional bank manager. She is the president of the PTA, the head of the neighborhood watch, and the unelected tyrant of local social politics. She wields her petty power like a scalpel, dissecting the lives of those she deems lesser. And she loathes Mark and Maya. She hates their peeling paint. She hates their weedy lawn. She hates their rusted-out Taurus, which she calls an eyesore. To her, they are not just poor. They are a blemish. They are a direct threat to the community standards and property values she's worked so hard to inflate. She sees Mark's limp not as a sacrifice for his country, but as a weakness. She sees his poverty not as a struggle, but as a personal failure. And she sees Maya as a contamination, a child she does not want her own perfectly curated daughter Ashley to associate with. The day after the diner incident, Maya, still a little sad about the $20 tears but clinging to the hope of her party, walks across the street. She is holding her last and most beautiful hand-drawn invitation. She saved the one with the glitter pen for Ashley Harrington. She rings the Ring doorbell, her heart thumping with nervous excitement. Sharon Harrington opens. The door looks down and sees Maya. Her face, which had been smiling, freezes into a mask of polite disgust. "Yes?" she says, her voice dripping with ice. "Hi, Mrs. Harrington," Maya chirps, holding up the envelope. "This is for Ashley. It's my birthday party on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Sharon takes the envelope, holding it between her thumb and forefinger as if it were a dirty tissue. She does not even open it. She looks at Maya. She looks at Maya's house across the street. And in that moment, she makes a decision. A cold, calculated, unbelievably cruel decision. "Oh," she says, a fake bright smile spreading across her face. "That's sweet, but Ashley cannot come. In fact, nobody can. You see, dear," Sharon continues, leaning down, her expensive perfume suffocating Maya. "I'm throwing a surprise party for Ashley. The same day, the same time." She says surprise, but she's lying. She just invented it. This is her move. This is how she maintains control. She knows every parent on this street is desperate to stay in her good graces. A party at the Harrington house, with a catered lunch, a bouncy house, and a professional magician she'll book in the next 5 minutes. No parent would dare send their child to the poor girl's party instead. It's social checkmate. Maya does not understand the complex suburban warfare. She just hears the words, "Oh, okay." Her face crumples. The light in her eyes just extinguishes. "That's okay. Maybe next time." She turns and walks away, her shoulders slumped. Sharon Harrington watches her go, a tiny, triumphant smirk on her face. She just crushed the one spark of hope that family had. She turns, walks inside her pristine house, and immediately gets on her phone in the neighborhood Facebook group. The text, "Emergency. Surprise party for Ashley. Saturday at 1. Everyone must be there. Don't tell her." And just like that, the system caves. The failure is not institutional. Not yet. It is communal. It is the neighbors. One by one, the other parents see the message. They know exactly what Sharon is doing. They know Maya's party is the same day. They saw the little girl, with her hopeful face, hand-deliver the invitations. Does anyone speak up? Does one person say, "Sharon, that's Maya's day. That's cruel"? No, not one. They are cowards. They are terrified of being the next target. They are terrified of their own children being excluded. The replies flood in. "We'll be there. Can't wait. So exciting, Sharon. We would not miss it. Count us in. Let me know if you need help." They choose the bouncy house over the little girl's heart. They choose social standing over basic human decency. They justify it to themselves. "Well, Ashley's party will be better anyway. It's just a kid's party. What's the big deal? That family really should try to fit in more." They become complicit. They are all, every single one of them, accessories to the emotional assassination of a 6-year-old child. Mark finds out later that day. He's at the small grocery, trying to see if he can afford a tiny $8 sheet cake with his last few dollars. He runs into another neighborhood dad. "Hey, Mark," the dad says, avoiding eye contact, studying the floor tiles. "Listen, sorry, but little Timmy can't make it Saturday. We're going to the Harringtons. You know how it is." Mark freezes. He knows exactly how it is. He sees the shame in the other man's eyes. He just nods, pays for the tiny, sad-looking cake, and limps back to his car. This is the moment of true desolation. This is the failure. Mark gets home and sees Maya in the front yard, listlessly pushing an old tire swing. He has the $8 cake. He has a single bag of off-brand balloons. And he has the crushing, suffocating knowledge that no one is coming. His daughter, his pure, good-hearted daughter who gave her last $20 to a stranger in need, has been systematically and cruelly shunned by their entire community. And he is powerless. He can't fight Sharon Harrington. He can't buy a better party. He can't force people to be kind. He tries. He's a soldier. He tries to fight back. He posts in the neighborhood Facebook group, "Hey everyone, just a reminder that Maya's 7th birthday is Saturday at 1. She'd be so happy to see you." The post is met with crushing, deafening silence. No likes, no comments. It is just ignored. It floats down the feed, buried under Sharon's posts about the awesome magician she booked. He's been digitally erased. His plea for his daughter's happiness is treated as spam. Then, in a moment of desperation, Mark messages Sharon Harrington directly. A private message. "Sharon, I think you might have made a mistake with the timing. It's Maya's birthday. She's been planning this for months. She'll be heartbroken. Could you please consider moving yours?" He hates himself for begging. He hates the weakness, but he does it for Maya. This is the safe institution. The neighborly chat, the polite request. Sharon's reply comes back in seconds. "Mark, I am so sorry, but the magician is booked. The catering is paid for. It is just impossible to move. It is such a shame. Maybe if you had planned better, or perhaps, in a different venue." The condescension is suffocating. The different venue is a clear shot at his poverty. He's been dismissed. He's been told, in no uncertain terms, that he and his daughter do not matter. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. It is designed to protect people like Sharon and crush people like Mark. Saturday, the day of the party. It is 1 p.m. The Ohio sun is high, but the mood in Mark's yard is dark. He's hung 6 balloons from the sagging porch rail. In the bright daylight, they just look pathetic. The $8 cake sits on a wobbly card table, covered in plastic wrap. Mark and Maya are sitting on the front steps, together, waiting. They are the only two people there. It is a portrait of loneliness. A father and daughter, abandoned by their entire world. The only sound is the grass growing. Across the street, the scene is obscene. It is a circus. Cars line both sides of the street, except for the front of Mark's house, which is pointedly, cruelly left empty. The thumping bass of pop music vibrates the air. You can hear the shrieks of 24 children playing in a massive, inflatable dragon bouncy castle. A man in a tuxedo, the magician, is setting up his table. Sharon Harrington is on her porch, holding a glass of white wine, surveying her kingdom, the conquering queen. She glances at Mark's empty yard and allows herself a small, satisfied smile. Maya finally understands. This is not an accident. They chose not her. She looks at the sad balloons. She looks at her dad, who is trying so hard to be strong, but whose jaw is clenched so tight it's trembling. She does not have a tantrum. She does not scream. She does something worse. A single silent tear rolls down her cheek. She just gets up, walks over to the card table, and quietly blows out the unlit candles on her own cake. "It's okay, Daddy," she whispers. "We can just eat the cake. This is the vacuum. This is the moral void the story needs. The community has failed. The neighbors have failed. Decency has failed. Mark, the veteran, the hero, has failed to protect his daughter from the one thing a rifle can't stop: casual, suburban cruelty. They are utterly, completely, and totally alone. The world has looked at their goodness and their struggle and replied with a laugh track from across the street, and it is into this void, this perfect vacuum of justice, that a new force is about to flood. Meanwhile, 100 miles away, Tank is at the clubhouse. He is standing in front of his chapter. He is holding a small, white paper envelope with party money written in purple crayon. He is telling the story. He tells them about the fall. He tells them about the people who drove by. He tells them about the 6-year-old girl who was not afraid. He tells them about the $20 she gave him, her birthday money. Then he tells them what he found out when he rode back to her street. He tells them about the other party. He tells them about the empty yard. A deep, dangerous silence falls over the smoky room, filled with men the world calls monsters. They are veterans. They are outcasts. They are men who live by a code that society has forgotten, and that code has just been violated. This is not about a kid's party. This is about honor. This is about respect. This is about a debt. The chapter president, a man known only as Prez, stands up. He takes one long drag from his cigarette. "This will not stand," he says. He makes one phone call. It's a code 7. That call goes to 5 other state chapters. The message is simple. A sister needs us. Roll out. It's 2 p.m. An hour has passed. The party across the street is in full swing. The magician is pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Sharon Harrington is laughing, accepting compliments on her perfect party from the other mothers. Over at Mark's house, the silence is heavy. Maya is sitting on the steps, listlessly picking at the frosting on her slice of cake. Mark is just watching. His heart is a cold, hard knot in his chest. He failed. That's the only thought in his head. And then he hears it. It is not a sound, really. It is a feeling. A low, distant vibration. He feels it in his teeth, in his bad leg. He thinks it's a thunderstorm rolling in over Lake Erie, but the sky is bright blue. The sound gets closer. It is not thunder. It is a rumble, a deep, guttural, mechanical growl. It is a sound that promises power. It is the sound of an approaching avalanche of rolling thunder. The pop music across the street is suddenly drowned out. The magician stops, mid-trick. The children pause. Everyone looks west, down the long, tree-lined suburban street, and then they see it. It is not a car. It is not a truck. It is a river, a black and chrome river of steel flooding the horizon. At the front, 2 by 2, is the vanguard, and behind them, more and more. It is an army. The street, designed for minivans and bicycles, is suddenly filled, curb to curb, with Harley-Davidsons. The roar is no longer a rumble. It is a physical force. It is a symphony of V-twin engines, a 900 bike salute that shakes the very foundations of the houses. The ground is trembling. This is not a gang. This is an occupation. 900 Hells Angels. They have come from Ohio, from Pennsylvania, from Michigan, from Indiana, from West Virginia. They pour into the small cul-de-sac, a disciplined, overwhelming tide. They are huge men, bearded, wearing the death head cut. They are the boogeymen of the American highway, and they have just descended on this quiet, suburban paradise. They are an ocean of black leather and chrome, and they are all moving toward one tiny peeling paint house across the street. Sharon Harrington's wine glass slips from her hand. It shatters on the porch. A splash of white Zinfandel on the perfect stonework. The color drains from her face. She is white, chalk white. This is it. This is the element she feared. The trash from the other side of town. But this is not just trash. This is an invading army. She grabs her daughter, Ashley, and shoves her inside. "Get in the house, everyone! Get inside! Call 911!" she shrieks, her voice thin and reedy. Parents are snatching their children, running to their cars, fumbling for their keys. The party is over. The bouncy castle deflates, a sad, sighing dragon. The neighbors, who were too cowardly to help Maya, are now too terrified to move. They peek through their blinds, phones in hand, dialing 911. Hundreds of them. One woman whispers frantically to the dispatcher. "Bikers! Hell's Angels! They're attacking attacking the neighborhood. They see these men as the end of the world. They see violence. They see chaos. They see every stereotype they have ever held, all parked in a gleaming, terrifying row right outside their windows. Mark is on his feet. His army training kicks in. He pushes Maya behind him, shielding her with his body. He is terrified. Is this about the $20? Did they come here to hurt him? Did they think he stole it? His mind is racing. He's one man with a bad leg against this. He's ready to fight. He's ready to die on his front porch for his daughter. He stands his ground, trembling but unbroken. He is a soldier, and he will not yield. And then as 900 engines cut out. The sudden, profound silence is more deafening than the roar. It is heavy. It is absolute. All you can hear is the ticking of cooling metal and the frantic crying of children from across the street. The entire army of bikers just sits. They do not move. They do not speak. They just watch. They form a massive semicircular wall of leather and steel around Mark's tiny front yard, a fortress. From the very center of this sea of men, one bike rolls forward. It is Tank. He parks his bike, dismounts, and walks slowly toward the porch. He is not wearing a helmet. His face is grim, but his eyes are fixed on Maya, who is peeking out from behind her father's legs. Mark tenses. "We don't want any trouble," he says, his voice shaking but firm. Tank stops at the bottom of the steps. He looks past Mark at Maya. He drops to one knee, a gesture of supplication. "Sorry we're late, Maya." Tank's gravelly voice rumbles, but this time it is gentle. Traffic was a bastard. He lifts up his hand. He is holding a massive, fluffy pink and white teddy bear, 3 times the size of the little girl. "We heard you were having a party, but it looked like you were a little short on guests." Maya's eyes go wide. She looks at her dad. Mark, stunned, nods. Maya slowly walks down the steps and takes the bear, burying her face in its soft fur. "All right, boys," Tank bellows, standing up. "Bring it in." And the invasion is revealed. This is not an attack. It is a birthday party. The bikers start dismounting, but they are not carrying weapons. They are carrying gifts. A long line forms, snaking down the street and around the corner. 900 men, one by one, walking up to the porch to hand a stunned 6-year-old girl a present. There are toy trucks, dolls, art supplies, and envelopes. Stacks and stacks of envelopes. This is not just a party. This is a statement. A U-Haul truck, which had been at the back of the convoy, pulls up. The back rolls open. It is full of food, not just cake. We are talking industrial-sized barbecue smokers. We are talking hundreds of pounds of brisket and ribs. We are talking coolers overflowing with soda and juice. Another biker, a member of a different chapter, sets up a full-on rock band on the lawn. They are not just at the party. They are the party. Tank walks over to Mark. He does not shake his hand. He hugs him. A bone-crushing, back-slapping embrace. "You're a good dad, soldier," Tank says, his voice thick. "We don't let family get treated like this." He gestures to the other bikers, many of whom are wearing patches. USMC, Army Rangers, Vietnam veteran. Mark is not looking at a gang. He is looking at his brothers. He is looking at the family he has been missing. He has finally, after all these years, been welcomed home. Of course, the police show up. 2 cruisers, lights flashing, roll up slowly. They stop at the edge of the biker fortress. They are outnumbered 450 to 1. 2 young officers get out, hands nervously on their belts. Sharon Harrington is on her porch, screaming at them. "Do something! Arrest them! They're trespassing!" The officers look at the 900 bikers. They look at the barbecue. They look at the little girl on Tank's shoulders, laughing as he gives her a ride. The chapter president, Prez, walks over to the cops. He's calm. "Afternoon, officers. Is there a problem?" The cop stammers. We got a call about a disturbance." Prez gestures to the lawn. "Disturbance? Officer, this is a child's birthday party. We're just celebrating. We have got a permit for the street gathering, filed this morning. We have got our own security. We'll be out by sundown. We're just here to make sure the birthday girl feels safe." The cop looks at Prez. He looks at Sharon. He looks at the 900 veterans quietly eating potato salad. He knows a no-win situation. "A permit?" he asks. Prez hands him the paperwork. "It is all legal. The Hells Angels, it turns out, have very good lawyers." The cop just nods. "All right, just keep the noise down." He looks at Sharon. "Ma'am, it's a legal party. There's nothing we can do." The police get back in their cars and leave. The system has officially and publicly declared Sharon Harrington powerless. And now, the neighbors, the other kids, the ones from across the street, they see the bouncy houses deflated. They see the rock band. They see the mountain of presents. They see Maya, the poor girl, being treated like an absolute queen, surrounded by 900 leather-clad knights. They start to wander over, drawn by the spectacle. The bikers, they do not shoo them away. They hand them hamburgers. They give them soda. They welcome all the children, because their fight is not with kids. Sharon Harrington stands on her porch, alone. Her party is a wasteland of deflated balloons and half-eaten cupcakes. Her friends have either fled or are now across the street trying to get barbecue. Her power, built on fear and exclusion, has just been utterly and completely shattered by a force she cannot comprehend. She has been publicly humiliated. She is irrelevant. The bikers do not even look at her. She has been erased. If you believe that true strength is about protecting the vulnerable, not bullying them, I want you to smash that like button. Your click is a vote for Maya. It proves you stand with the angels, not the tyrants. The climax of the party. Tank silences announces the band. He holds up a tiny, child-sized leather vest. It is brand new. On the back is a custom patch. It does not say Hell's Angels. It says Maya's Guardians. And underneath, honorary member, debt paid. Tank puts the vest on Maya's shoulders. It is the highest honor they can bestow. Your family now, kid, he rumbles. You and your dad. You ever have a problem, you call us. We don't care where. We don't care when. We will be here. Maya just hugs his leg, her face buried in leather. Mark is openly weeping now, tears of gratitude and release pouring down his face. The little girl who had no one now had 900 uncles, and the veteran who was alone now had his battalion. The aftermath was not just about one day. The flood of justice left a permanent high water mark on that neighborhood. As the sun began to dip, painting the Ohio sky in shades of bruised orange and purple, the bikers began to clean up. They were meticulous. They picked up every paper plate, every bottle cap. They left Mark's yard cleaner than they found it, but they left other things behind. The mountain of gifts was one. The industrial-sized barbecue smoker was another. A gift, Prez said to Mark, clapping him on the shoulder. From the club, a man's got to be able to provide. The departure was as disciplined as the arrival. In perfect formation, 900 engines roared to life, a final, deafening salute to the little girl on the porch, before disappearing into the dusk. Later that night, long after the last engine had faded into the distance, Mark and Maya sat on their living room floor. The small room was overflowing with toys and envelopes. They opened the envelopes. They were not just birthday cards. They were cash, 50s, hundreds. By the time they were done, a pile of money sat on their worn-out carpet. Over $30,000. It was the party money returned 1,000-fold. It was first and last month's rent on a new apartment in a better school district. It was a reliable used car. It was dignity. It was the debt of honor, repaid with interest. Mark, his hands shaking, just stared at the pile, finally understanding that his family's life had been irrevocably changed. The resolution was absolute. Maya was no longer the poor girl. She was now a local legend. She was the biker princess. The child-sized leather vest became her favorite piece of clothing. She wore it with a quiet pride. When she returned to school that Monday, the dynamic had shifted completely. The children who had shunned her now looked at her with awe and a little bit of fear. They saw her as royalty, protected by a force they could not understand. She was no longer invisible. She was the most seen, most protected child in the entire state of Ohio. The vest was a cape, a shield, a crown, all rolled into one, a permanent symbol that she was not alone. And Mark was changed too. The bikers had not just given him money. They had given him back his manhood. They had recognized him, not as a casualty, but as a brother. The neighbors, who had once pitied him, now looked at him with a new respect. He was the man who commanded the loyalty of an army. He was no longer just the guy with the limp. He was a patriarch, a man clearly held in high esteem by other powerful men. He started carrying himself differently. His shoulders were back. His limp seemed less pronounced. He had found his tribe, and in doing so, he had found himself. The local VFW post suddenly seemed too small for him. As for Sharon Harrington, her reign was over. Her social power, built on the fragile currency of exclusion and fear, evaporated in a single afternoon of Harley-Davidson exhaust. She became a pariah in her own kingdom. The other parents, having witnessed her public neutering, no longer feared her. They pitied her, and worse, they blamed her. Did you see what her stunt caused? They whispered at the grocery store. She brought a biker army down on, us. Her parties were suddenly poorly attended. Her texts went unanswered. She had committed the ultimate suburban sin. She had created a scene. She had, in her attempt to humiliate one family, permanently humiliated herself. The town itself was forced to look in the mirror. The narrative of scary bikers versus safe suburbia had been turned on its head. The monsters had brought barbecue, presence, and community. The good neighbors had brought exclusion, cruelty, and cowardice. The local news eventually cautiously picked up the story, not mentioning the club by name, but focusing on the veterans motorcycle group that had come to the aid of a fellow soldier's family. It forced a conversation. Who were the real neighbors? The people who lived next door, or the people who showed up when you needed them? The town of Toledo had to reckon with the fact that its heroes were covered in leather. The confrontation was not violent, but it was absolute. Before they left, Tank and a few of the other chapter presidents, including Prez, walked across the street. Sharon Harrington, seeing them approach, tried to slam her door. Tank's massive boot stopped it. He did not threaten her. He did not yell. He just looked at her, his eyes flat and cold. "We know what you did," he said, his voice a low growl that vibrated in her chest. "This family," he gestured back to Mark's house, "is under our protection now. This neighborhood is under our protection." It was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. A new social contract had been written, and she was at the bottom of it. Maya's healing was immediate. The trauma of the rejection was washed away by the sheer, overwhelming proof of her worth. She had given $20, a simple act of kindness, and the universe had returned it with an army. She had learned a lesson that day, a lesson that would define her life, that kindness has power, that her small, pure heart was a beacon. She was not just given a party, she earned it with her character. The 900 bikers did not come for for a child in need. They came because a child had helped them. They were repaying her strength, not her weakness. 2 weeks later, a moving truck pulled up to the little bungalow. It was not a repo truck. It was Mark and Maya moving out. They were moving to a new apartment complex in a better neighborhood, one with a swimming pool and a real playground. As Mark packed the last box into his new 2015 Toyota Camry, he looked across the street. Sharon Harrington's blinds were drawn. She had not come outside in days. Mark took the small, tattered American flag from his porch, folded it neatly, and got in the car. Maya, sitting in the passenger seat wearing her vest, waved goodbye to the empty street. They were not running away. They were advancing. The moral of this story is not complicated, but it is one we forget every single day. We are taught to judge by the cover. We are taught that safety lies in conformity, in neat lawns and polite smiles. We are taught to fear the other, the outlier, the man with the tattoos and the loud engine. But this story proves that true honor is not found in the country club. It is not found in the PTA meeting. True honor, true loyalty, is found in the hearts of those who have been tested by the world and chosen not to break. It is found in the codes kept by those who have nothing left to lose but their word. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is not just what Mark did in Afghanistan or what Tank did in Vietnam. Courage is a 6-year-old girl seeing a man in pain and walking toward him when the rest of the world walks away. Courage is giving away your last $20, your entire dream, just because someone else needs it more. Maya's one small act of pure, fearless compassion was a rock thrown into a still lake, and the ripples became a tidal wave of justice that washed an entire community clean. Share this video. Share it with someone who needs to, remember that heroes are real. They do not always wear capes. They do not always carry badges or sit in high offices. Sometimes they wear leather. Sometimes they are covered in ink. And sometimes they are 6 years old. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments what that first act of kindness meant to you. And never, ever forget, the most loyal family is not always the one you were born into. It is the one that shows up when everyone else has turned their back.